Yeah, I'll just give a few words, zooming a bit in on where we started with like a group talk in the conversation room. I'm trying to just say a bit about the analytical resources I try to work with in this, and it's very much work in progress. So just to have an idea, maybe get some input and that, and of course it's related in this, but it's not difficult the same. So I have like two strands and two lines of thought. One is like the phenomenological approach, where in the social work they talk with like everyday concepts, like there's a lack of energy in the room, or we could talk about what's the vibe here, or the atmosphere in the room. So we have these kind of concepts from like the everyday language, but when it's come to theorizing, it's a bit difficult. And so I've been inspired by Heidegger, and haven't really got so much into it, but he's talking about this in an interesting way, which I think maybe can open up for a way of approaching and thinking about the subject in relation to the environment in a kind of process kind of way. And I'm very sorry for the translation here, but it's very difficult. I know him a bit in German and in Danish, and translating into English, it's very difficult. But so I just try to get an idea about what he's talking about. He's talking about Dasein, which is his term for the subject, which means that being which is present here at this place. So he says the Dasein is a being in the world, and it's important here, this term in English, being in the world, with markers here that this non-dualistic way of approaching how subjectivity and subjects are part of the world. And this is characterized by like a fundamental, immediately understanding or relation. I think it has the German word verstehen, to the world. And we could say maybe with the Karen Barrett's world that we have an interdependent relationship with the world. So that will mean, in relation to this, that the Dasein, the subject, is not present in the room as in a container, but has like this non-dualistic, basic ontological being in the world. And if we read more on Heidegger, we say this means that in our relation, in our being in the room, we are in some kind of way fundamentally attuned to, in a processual, dynamic relation to the situation, to the room. So when we are in a situation in the room, it has some kind of emotional meaning. There's something happening, and there's an emotional atmosphere, dynamic, which impresses me. It does something with the subject here, and it's very difficult to translate here. The German word here is Stimmung, which has like different meanings, and it's both something like it's a mood we are in, like a basic mood or something, but it's also like some kind of attunement, some like resonance with the situation where we have this relationship. And I think some other concept for this resonance are in French maybe ambiance, which is something about this atmosphere. So this is one of the approaches I try to work with, because in the post-structuralist terms and concepts, it's really hard to get a grasp of this subjective experience. So try to bridge these kind of things and work up with them. So it's very much fragmented right now. So the other approach here is what you know, and we already talked about, like the Foucauldian sense of space, like disciplinary space, and the disciplinary dispositive which you know from Foucault's basic work, which looks like this, where the space is like individualizing and separates, and it's a mean for evaluate the subjects and so on and so forth, like we see in the school space. So here's something going on also, which is we could say it's some of the explanation or the wider context for understanding this Stimmung, this attunement in the room. So this is one of the first moves here, and the second move would say, how can we then take this further and make like a spatial term with this and combine these things? So we are not talking about this Euclidean space and the room as a container or a framework, and not talking about the context, but something else. And Laura and Barat and other people are like trying to get the grips about that. So we should move on to how can we understand this space like not like a singular place, but something is defined by relations, networks, symbols, connected to other things, or maybe also like connected to the dispositives, the disciplinary dispositives that encode the room in certain kind of ways, that enact some program to be played out in them. So there's something with the A&T resources here where we use different accents in the room, and at the same time there's some ideas about like the philosopher Deleuze, I don't know the English translation here, but he has this concept about maybe the smooth and the stratified, where the room is always moving between these. So we have something who is giving some direction and opening, and there's this fluidity of space in some kind of way. So yeah, that's just some ideas and a bit fragmented, but that's where we are right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, well, thanks for listening, and well, we approach it in slightly different ways. Mass is all over the place into various post-structural approaches, and I'm trying to learn from that also, but don't really know exactly what to do with it yet. But I suppose that in the months to come, that our conversation things will emerge from that will be more coherent, I think, both in what we do, each of us, and what we may do together. And we hope that you might, well, find some of these things interesting, maybe contribute to, you know, qualify our approach to the spaces of social work and directors.
Yeah, maybe a last example to just say something about this accent is when they're sitting in this room and the youth don't want to talk about something, then some of the things they do, they show a video or they do something in the room which enables the room to be a place for talking, to be a counseling machine, to be a kind of assemblage where new networks, new things can happen. So there's something happen here where, because they use the material in a way who reconfigures the room in some kind of way, and we try to work with that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.